GoDaddy Pro EMEA Meetup. Today is 25th September and autumn already started. It's rather chilly in Belgrade, not sure about the temperature in Germany, but I'm sure it's very close. Uh, to learn more about how GoDaddy Pro can actually save your time for web developers and designers, check our link in the chat. Feel free to introduce yourself or ask questions in the chat. There are already some questions in the Q&A section, and you're able to preview of what's coming. This session will be recorded, and the recording will be available at GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. You also should get an email survey for us. It would really mean a lot to us if you can just pick a couple of questions for us or answers so we can do even better. And we hope that this show will continue. So, last time we spoke and we met, we spoke with Jorge Casalas about Data Pocket. And today we have Jacob Drost of Grade. Hi, Jacob. How are you doing?
Hey Maya, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. It's a bit chilly, as I said. In Belgrade, there has been a lot of rain, and the temperature is like I'm already wearing my winter clothes, so I'm getting ready for winter.
Yeah, actually,
How's Germany?
I think I'm wearing a sweater for the first time for the last couple of months actually. But yeah, Oktoberfest just started in Munich, so it's always like the fifth season in here. So it's getting chilly now, but we had great weather the last couple of weeks.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome to hear. So today we'll be talking about multi-sites management. So before we dive deep into the solution that Grade offers, let's first meet Jacob. Hey, Jacob, tell us more about your professional journey and what inspired you to start your career in tech.
Yeah, I'm Jacob Trost. I'm living in Munich, working at the company Great. And what inspired me to go to tech, or what was my professional journey? Yeah, I've been coding since school pretty much, but then studied interface design actually, at Nuremberg. But at some point, I realized that the combination of development, so coding and design, can be really awesome. And I realized, like, after the first couple of weeks of my coding class in university, I realized, okay, this is something that I enjoy just spending the entire night and night after night on doing, just creating something unique and combining design and functionality. And yeah, that's where I really got hooked into it, and always been using WordPress, always was curious about WordPress, and always really loved the philosophy behind WordPress pretty much. So yeah, that's how I got started, and that's what inspired me to like go to tech and actually go to WordPress as well, as an environment pretty much.
And when did you hear about WordPress and where? Do you remember that?
I've been hearing about it I had one of the working student jobs, one of the early ones, where I started coding without knowing about WordPress pretty much, but I had a working job at my university, and yeah, they've been using WordPress for their corporate websites, and so I heard of it and used it a bit and found it quite nice to extend, and that's what got me started with WordPress pretty much. Yeah.
Well, it seems that your extension of mind really suits the grade and the mission that grade is trying to do. So I'm very happy. I met your colleagues and I met you just recently, and I'm really, really happy to know people who are starting their careers that deep into WordPress. So you're working for Grade. What is your position in Grade?
I'm head of development, so started as a junior developer, and now I'm trying to manage the team pretty much.
Yeah, so from junior developer to tech lead to dev lead, that's a really big path that someone needs to take. But I'm really happy that you managed to grow in your career. We'll speak more about your career later, but tell us now before we dive into the whole great solution. Tell us what was the mission of Great and what problem Great tried to solve by creating the suit.
The mission of Grade. So pretty much what we're trying to solve is we're thinking about, first of all, we're thinking about professional WordPress websites. We're not necessarily thinking about, okay, if you've never used a website before, if you don't know anything about websites, probably Grade isn't the perfect solution for you. But we're thinking about professional websites, and we think about every time you create a website for one of your clients or a subsite of your corporation, or you're pretty much doing a lot of the stuff again and again. So you have like repetitive tasks pretty much. And we're trying to solve the issue of making this entire process more efficient. So we're not thinking about how you can be the fastest way to get one website, one landing page started. Yes, you can do that really fast. I mean, you have the block editor today. It's easy to learn, in my opinion. But we're thinking about, what if you want to build 100 websites? What if you want to build one website every couple of days? And if you really want to do that, you have to make your workflow more efficient. And that is our philosophy, and that's what we're trying to do. And there are a lot of issues in that entire process we're trying to solve. We're trying to solve migrating, managing sites, having a clear overview, but actually using and synchronizing your content across multiple websites, reusing everything, dividing everything into an asset to just make it different in its design and in its content, and make it separate from each other. And therefore, you're able to now reuse everything in your next projects or your next and next project. And yeah, and that's the philosophy we have, and those are the issues we're trying to solve.
So it's a bit of an automation process that saves the time for you, right?
Yeah, it is, but it's much more than that. It gets you started, makes the block editor more professional, to just get you a nice professional looking site. So that's just lots of features included: forms, pop-ups, conversion statistic tools, and everything. And from that on, you have an entire management system, and it's cool in multi-sites. And we will take a look today what it actually does inside a multi-site, and how this works, what this enables you to do, and how to speed up your workflow.
Now I have a trick question. Would you like to answer this following question before or after the presentation? The question is, who is the beneficiary of this solution? Do we talk about it after you do the demo or before? What is
I can
better?
I can answer that right now. I mean, you already opened the box, so I can answer that. No, I will come back to that as well during my presentation. I mean, the beneficiary obviously are, in our opinion, agencies and freelancers as well. I mean, as a freelancer, you should think about your resources, and the most valuable resource you pretty much have is time. You're not necessarily saving a lot if you're saving, for example, on a license cost. Instead of having like $100 to pay for a license, only pay $50, but then you have like twice the time you take to actually finish the project. So that is not really a good calculation, in my opinion. The most valuable resource, in our opinion, is time. And if you manage your time more efficient, if we help you save time, then at the end of the day, you will make money and your business is more profitable. So obviously, agencies and freelancers are profit from the solution, but there are a lot of, I mean, at the end of the day, we have to think about pretty much two different user categories inside WordPress. We have the professionals who set up the websites, who manage the websites, who create the designs and develop it. But we have another user group, and that is often not referred to that much, and that is the end user, the one who actually includes content, who posts about something. And that is, especially in a professional and enterprise way, that's not necessarily a WordPress professional. He or she might not know about color contrast. He or she doesn't maybe not know about pixels, whatever. So we have to think about these two different use cases, and we think, in our opinion, agencies and freelancers can profit from our solution, but as well as the end user, who actually doesn't necessarily know too much about WordPress and about website design, and you can kind of control and restrict that user role a lot to actually make it easier for them to build a site or post new information or set up a beautiful looking landing page or whatever you want to achieve.
Wow, this sounds amazing. So would you mind if we dive into the presentation? Because I'm really looking forward to understand more about it, and then also give more space to people to ask their questions if there are any. Please, the floor is yours.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you again, Maya, for having me here today. I'm really glad I can talk a bit about multi-sites. We will see some of the things I just mentioned, not necessarily all of them, because today it's more about what multi-sites enable you to do, not necessarily what we do. So yeah, let's start. I'm gonna start sharing my screen, so you can see my screen. I hope so.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect. So that works. Yes. Yeah. Let's talk about multisites. The title of my presentation today is WP WordPress Multisites Demystified. So we talk about what use cases are out there, actually what multisites are in general. And yeah, before we start, let me introduce myself. Actually, we can skip that. I already introduced myself. Maya did that perfect job. So yeah, I'm a developer at Grade. We're based in Munich, Germany. So yeah, that's who I am. We talked about my study and everything. So let's go over the agenda. What am I going to talk to you about today? I want to make it a bit of a beginner-friendly talk as well. So if you didn't use a multi-site, if you don't know what it is, I want to just tackle that really quick. But then later on, I want to talk about the advantages, disadvantages, and we're just going to dive right in and just take a look at what people are doing with multi-sites. So first, what is a multi-site? So really basic explanation, a multi-site is a single WordPress installation and it manages multiple websites. So how does it do it? You have a shared directory and a shared database. So at your hosting company, wherever you host your websites, you only have to create one directory or have one location and one folder, and you have to create one database. And as soon as you got that, you're able to install a multi-site. You have a default WordPress installation and you add some properties. And then plugins and themes are all managed in the same, managed in the same directory. So actually your plugins and themes have the same code base and you have different folders for your uploads. So all the pages inside WordPress, so all the sites inside a multi-site can have their own uploads and their own images. And you have a shared database. So it's all created inside the same database, but you have extra database tables that are created by WordPress. Yeah, and just quickly, it's easy if you just see what I'm meaning. We want to just quickly tackle the issue how to set up a multi-site because a lot of people don't really know it necessarily, but it's really easy. I mean, it depends on your hosting company. Obviously, some of them just automate it for you as well, which is not hard to do, but I want to go over how to quickly do it manually. So what you want to have is you want to have a local sorry, this is a local installation, but you want to have a default installation of WordPress pretty much. So I called this local multi-site, but it's not a multi-site yet. It's just a default installation. And the first thing we want to do is we want to just copy this line and add it to our WP config in our root directory. And I will just do that right now. You cannot really see it, but it doesn't really matter. It's just copy and paste. And as soon as we have that property ready, then if I refresh the page, I have a new page available. Via tools, network setup, I can now set up my network. So usually you have the option to decide whether you want to use subdomains or subdirectories. So for example, if you want to have a subdirectory approach, you have a URL that looks like this in the end, sub.website.de. If you have a subdirectory approach, you have URLs that look like this. So every site has their own subdirectory, or every site has their own subdomain. So it's pretty much a difference. I do not have this option as I'm on localhost and it doesn't really work there. And yeah, the server address is automatically handled. I just name my installation and are good from here. And if I click install, I have two code snippets and I now need to paste them in my WP config first. So I can replace the old line that I just included and now go ahead and copy and paste that in your htaccess. So all on your root directory. And let me just go ahead and do that. Save that. Both are saved. And now I refresh my page and I have to log in again because the login cookie is actually not preserved. Just log in there once. And now the multi-site is good to go. If I saved everything correctly, yeah, now the multi-site is good to go. We still land on this site. And you see, we are in a different environment already. We have different WP admin bar items, and that is actually the network admin of the entire site. So let me go back to my local multi-site to see the difference. This is where you have your plugins, users, appearance, pages, and everything. And now you have a new admin admin bar item, where you have a network admin, and there you can manage everything. So what do we have? We have the sites panel. That's pretty much the most important one in a multi-site. You can add new sites really easily. Especially if you have the subdirectory approach, you can really easily just create a new site. I will do that right now. Just let me fill in my admin email, and if I wait a second, now I have my site in here in my dashboard, and I can actually visit it from here out, and you see it's an entirely new WordPress installation. And now I can install a theme here, add some plugins, and add posts, pages, content, whatever I want to do. And those are separate from each other. So I can have different themes, different contents, whatever. You also have users managed a bit differently. So all the users in here are always registered on the site level, so on the network level, and then just registered to different sites. You can see here, I'm already registered to these two sites because I'm the main admin. But as soon as you add a new user, you can manually add them to sites or remove them from sites and manage them from here on. Then just tackle themes really quick. Themes are managed from the network panel as well. You can add new themes or delete themes. And important thing here is, as soon as I install a theme, it's not automatically available for every site. So in order for them to use it, actually, we can just give you an example of this. I go to my new site and go to themes there. And you can see it's only the 2023 theme available here. And if I want to make the other themes available, I just have to network enable them. And as soon as they're network enabled, I can now use it from a page, from a site. I can choose which theme that is enabled for me that I want to use. Plugins are handled a bit differently as well. If I want to add a new plugin, I can only do this. If I want to install a new plugin, I can only do this from a network level. And let me just install whatever, the Gutenberg plugin maybe. If I install a new plugin, let me just wait a couple of seconds until this is installed. Then as soon as it's installed, it's automatically available for the sites in my network. So the Gutenberg plugin is now installed. And if I look into here, I have the Gutenberg and I can activate it from here on. So it's a bit different from themes, but what I can do as well, I can network activate plugins. So that plugin is actually available in the network panel as well, because there are some plugins that actually do that and enhance the multi-site experience. And we're gonna take a look at them later. So yeah, just a different approach on how this works. So we went through all the installation process. Just to copy this, it's really easy, but Google it. There are a lot of installation instructions. So yeah, the native features, we have a new user role. I didn't mention that. So as soon as we have a multi-site, actually, we have a new user role that is a super admin. And by default, I am the super admin. And super admin always has access to all the sites and to the network panel as well. So as soon as I'm super admin, I can manage all this. I can manage all the sites, plugins, and themes, but I can also access every single one of the installations of the sites in here. Then we went through settings, themes, and plugins. It's just really easy. We mentioned what differences are there for themes and plugins. Just quickly tackle the settings as well. If I go into my sites, I can from here really easily edit them. Actually, I have a settings panel where I pretty much have all the WP options that are available in here, and I can control them from here. For example, the thumbnail size or the template, whatever. Pretty much every WP option is included in here, and I can go and manage them from here. And what is just really valuable about multi-sites is it's really easy to add, edit, delete sites. Depends a bit on subdirectories and subdomains. I mentioned that really quickly. I configured everything with subdirectories. But if you have subdomains, then usually to actually make use of subdomains, you have to register the subdomain on your hosting part as well. That is a bit slower in my opinion, because you have to go to the hosting administration, but it works as well, and it's maybe a bit nicer for you as well. And it's just really easy to change URLs as well. So if I go here and I see this site, I can now go ahead and say, okay, I don't want it to be called new, so I can call it site 3, save the URL, and I'm good to go. And now this site is actually available via this new link. It's just really easy. I mean, if you have a lot of contents inside the site, then you have to replace some URLs as well, but we tackled that later on. So those are just the native features or the most important features of multi-sites. Yeah, but how do I know if a multi-site is right for my project or for my work approach, for my workflow, whatever? And to answer that, I quickly want to go over the advantages and disadvantages of multi-sites. So first, we want to have like kind of a climatic approach. So we start with disadvantages. I obviously researched this as well a little bit just to know the other opinions about that. And one of the major things I found about multi-sites, a lot of people mentioned it's complex. And I do not necessarily agree with it. So actually in my presentation, I want to kind of cross it out. Because yes, of course, the installation is a bit more complex than the default WordPress installation, but we did that in just a couple of minutes and now it's up and running. And for you, I think as soon as you understand the concepts of multi-site, it is much more easier to actually maintain sites inside your network. And for the user, for the end user, there's not necessarily anything that changes. So they can use WordPress as they're used to. So to describe it as more complex, I just disagree with that statement. Yes, of course, some aspects are more complex, but a lot of aspects are very, very easy just to add a new site. I mean, we add a new site in just less than a minute. And usually if I want to add a single site, I mean, it depends on my hoster. There are some great ones out there that actually let you edit new WordPress sites from just a button click. But if you want to add a new site in the classic approach without multi-sites, you have to create a database and have to create a folder for that directory and install the zip over there. It could be automated, but it's just harder. So complexity, not necessarily true in my opinion. Then disadvantage, limited compatibility. Just have to mention that not every plugin is natively compatible with multi-sites. So you have to make sure you use only this ones. But in my opinion, if a plugin is well developed, it is usually compatible with multi-sites and should be. Server resources are a disadvantage because, yeah, if you think about it, if all your installations, all your sites use the same server and the same files and the same database, obviously, if you have high traffic sites inside your multi-sites, they are requesting the same files. So you have to think about performance. You have to think about server resources. You should maybe choose a hoster or talk to a hoster that offers something like load balancing stuff. So if as soon as you have high traffic sites, you should think about server resources and having a proper server in order to make that really scalable, because it can be, yeah, if a lot of traffic comes around, then it can be hard. But just think about it. WordPress.com, for example, is a multi-site itself. So, I mean, and that has a lot of traffic, obviously. So it is really possible to have big multi-sites that have a lot of traffic. It's just something you have to think of. And if you're not thinking of it from the start, then this could lead to a major disadvantage. Dependent on that, is like it can get bloated if you're not taking care of what you're doing and you just creating a new site for every little thing you want to test out. Then a couple of weeks later, you have hundreds of sites, and if you don't clean them up properly, you have a lot of files laying on your server. You have a huge database. If you install lots of plugins, the database will get bloated, the files will get bloated, and yeah, to actually clean that up can be a bit messy. To just mention that. And the most severe disadvantage, in my opinion, is you have a higher risk because, again, it's using the same database, using the same file system. So if soon as one plugin is corrupt or one plugin is broken or has compatibility issues, that can affect all your sites. If that plugin is enabled on all the sites, then this is a risk and this can break all the sites. Or, for example, if one site gets hacked, chances are the other sites are affected. Depends on the hack, obviously, but it's just something to consider. It's just a higher risk if you set it up in a multi-site. So you have to take security solutions even more serious than you usually should. Anyway, yeah, just to mention a couple of disadvantages. There are more, but those are the major ones in my opinion. I found one quote that actually was mentioned on 2 articles that I found, but this is the first one pretty much you find when you Google multi-sites. And just want to read it out. However, a web designer couldn't use Multisite to manage several unrelated client projects. If one of the clients decided to move their website elsewhere, it would be a problem because the website would be sharing its database with others on the network. Sorry. And I do disagree with that statement. I mean, okay, yeah, if you have a clean multi-site without any plugins and your migration process is pretty much copy and paste of the database and the entire file system, yeah, then that can be messy to actually move a multi-site or one single installation of the multi-site to a single site, yes. But there are so many great solutions for this out there. So in my opinion, migration isn't a problem to a single installation. The only thing you have to think of is a plugin multi-site enabled or not. And as soon as you have that, the migration process can be handled really easily. And we will take a look at some solutions that actually handle that quite well. So I do disagree with that statement because a web designer, in my opinion, is actually one of the use cases that I think can profit the most of this approach because your workflow can really benefit from it. But we tackle that now because now we talk about advantages. So one of the first things is just easy to set up new sites. You've seen it. I created a new site in literally seconds. And that's just really easy to do, way easier than with a classic approach, I call it. You can manage multiple websites. I mean, that's not a secret, but you can really keep track of all your websites from one single dashboard. I mean, the native dashboard is not really the best example. We will take a look at some different ones, but you can just keep track of all the sites you have in your installation. Let me just switch the view as well. That's not the view I was thinking about, but it doesn't really matter. You have user management in there, so you can keep track of all the users, can delete users from all the sites with just one click, and you can manage settings from a global perspective. You can actually manage uploads as well, control how big of files they can upload. So in general, you just have greater control of what the actual users and admins of your sites are able to do. Are they allowed to install a theme that X, Z, and Y? Are they allowed to add this plugin and activate that plugin? You just can take control of that by installing or not installing it on a network level. And in my opinion, it's way easier to maintain a WordPress multi-site if configured correctly. We come to that in the use cases, but it's just easier to maintain your code base, for example, as well. And that's one thing I just quickly want to mention as well. I myself and we as a company, we only use multi-sites pretty much for our development processes or projects and everything, because it's just way more efficient, in my opinion, because you always have the same code base. So if you have a workflow, for example, you have one parent theme and you have the same or a similar workflow every time you create a website, and you should have, usually in our experience, most of the professional WordPress users do have a similar approach each time. So actually you can, for example, have a parent theme installed and then create a different child theme for every installation. And code base is just easily manageable because you just have to update one single theme or plugin or whatever. And if you develop that, all your websites have access to that code base instantly. So to give you an example, I use development multi-sites. We will take a look at there right in a couple of minutes. And I always have like multiple sites set up for different use cases with different plugins that are compatible with, but all based on the same pretty much grid or same workflow. And it's just way easier for me to manage the code base and manage the development. So just some things to think about here. And one last thing I want to tackle is it consumes less server space. I mean, if obviously the most server space is consumed by images and files and things you upload, and they are separate by default. But all the plugins, all the themes, the WordPress installation itself, the database is just one instance of it, and it just consumes less files and there's less server space at the end. So in my opinion, it's an easy, cost-efficient, and sustainable solution, actually. Yes, and when we talk about advantages, and Maya actually asked the question already, we talk about use cases. What use cases can profit the most from multi-sites, or what use cases are multi-sites for? So first of all, in my opinion, it's the best to have, it's best for use cases where you have separate websites, but with a common core, not necessarily with one common code base or one common file system, but with a common core. So a similar approach. And if you talk about what use cases are there, educational institutions, for example, if you create a site for every institution you have inside your university, every department of the university, that could be a valuable thing. Also, managing users from one global perspective is really important there. And news and blogging networks, if you have different blogs, sub-blogs, and news pages, and they kind of want to refer to the same contents as well, or have like a multi-language setup, then multi-sites can really profit a lot from, they can really profit from multi-sites. Corporate intranets as well. Those are a lot of the use cases that our clients have. Bigger corporations that just need more landing pages, more subsites for their sub companies or whatever. For the internal websites, they have a new event scheduled next week. They want to inform about new stuff, and just creating websites with different users and managing their users from a global perspective. And that's just one of the use cases that really can profit from multi-sites. And one of the things that you can do with multi-sites very, very well is franchise systems, because franchise systems usually have similar websites, pretty much the same websites all the time, but maybe with different offers, different landing pages, obviously different users, and for example, a different legal page or legal person that is I'm lost of the words, but that is in the site and has to manage all the sites. So you have like some contents that are different, but a lot of the contents, for example, the news, the corporation offers, and they are all the same and should be managed from a global perspective. But the franchisees actually have some pages or some contents they want to control, and obviously are different users every time and different legal information. And then one more thing is agency projects, or actually WordPress professionals in general. I just included agencies because, you can think instantly of what this looks like. And I talked about this a bit. We use it as well, and our clients use it a lot. They have all the projects they create on one multi-site, or based on the approach. For example, what we do is we split all the WooCommerce sites into one multi-site, and all the basic landing page site in one multi-site, because again, if you have a common core, it's best to use a multi-site. So if you have this common core, it's really easy to create your workflow and to update and maintain all the sites, and to keep track of them and not lose sight. So in our opinion, as a WordPress professional who develops websites, who creates websites on a daily or weekly basis, multi-sites are just a really, really good example how you can profit from multi-sites. And actually, Robert mentioned another different use case in the chat: global plans with localized versions in different countries. Localization is one thing that I will come to now, Robert. I didn't forget about that, obviously, but we can talk about that later as well. Localization is probably something I should add here as well, but we will tackle that in the extensions. Now, just some basic tips and tricks. I think Robert probably has more tips and tricks, and we have some more, but those are just some basic things. In our opinion, it's best to keep like the main site clean for a multi-site, because if you have plugins active on your main site, they have access to your network panel, because the network is pretty much based on the main site. And if you pollute the main site with lots of plugins, and in worst case, plugins that are kind of incompatible with multi-sites, that could interfere with your network admin. So in our opinion, it's best to keep the main site kind of clean. So this site, I would use it as a corporate landing page or the main landing page, yes, but not to test things out, for example. I would never do that with the main site. I want to just keep it as clean as possible, because the solutions active there could interfere with your network administration. Then one thing that's not unique to multi-sites, obviously, but it's just way more important in our opinion, is regular backups. Because again, you're using the same file systems, and chances are if you're breaking things, then they are broken on each instance of this in this multi-site. So just to have regular backups in place, have a host there or a plugin, use a plugin that automates that for you. It's just really, really valuable and really important inside multi-sites, in my opinion. And as the disadvantages already told you, server resources are be monitored, to be thought about beforehand. Are you having high traffic? Are you having less traffic because it's just your local project? Just think about that. And one more thing is domain mapping, because I saw that a lot on the sites I researched, and domain mapping isn't an issue in WordPress multi-sites. I mean, it depends on the use case, but it's actually perfectly fine to have multiple domains in your multi-site. For example, I have this multi-site, greatsuite.de, and it's perfectly fine to have a different domain in here. You see this site, and that's a perfectly fine multi-site sub-site actually, that has a different domain. I mean, it's not that different, but it's a different domain. And I just have to make sure that my domain points to this directory. And as soon as it points to this directory, I set it up from a WordPress perspective by going to setup, and then just type in my URL pretty much, and then it works. So it's perfectly fine to have different domains on your multi-site installation. It perfectly works. So you can actually use your multi-site as well to host the websites for your clients if you want to do that. I would not necessarily recommend that, because I'm always a fan of the client always owns the website, and that's one thing that WordPress enables you to do really, really nicely. But just to manage your project from this perspective, I would recommend using multi-sites. But just to show you, it's perfectly fine to have different domains on your multi-site. You just have to point it to the same directory, and then type it in here in the setup process, and then you're good to go. Yes, and now we go to plugin extensions. I want to showcase some of the extensions, some of the plugins. I mean, there are a lot out there, obviously, but I want to showcase some that I really like. First of all, just a neat little plugin. I think, Robert, you might know this. You might know probably all of them. But multi-site enhancement is just one that we always use pretty much. If you enable that, you have this little multi-site enhancement settings page, and it just gives you some more options, gives you really useful admin bar items, and gets rid of some of them, and allows you to do a couple of things. So just a neat little plugin that we pretty much always install. Then one thing more experienced WordPress multi-site users might know is the plugin that unconfirmed. It solves a unique issue because I mentioned users are handled a bit differently. So, for example, if I now create a new user and create that username, usually here you see the password reset link will be sent to the user via email. So as soon as that happens, maybe this ends up in the spam folder or is deleted or filtered out by them, the user is still present in the database, and it's not possible for you to actually view them, delete them. You have to go into the database or send them the link again, and that's what unconfirmed pretty much does for you. You see no unactivated members were found. But if I add a new user, let me just do that actually. Let me just add my coworker. Already exists. Yeah, and that's the error. Actually, is pretty much as a good showcase as well. That's the error you're getting if you're trying to create a new user that you're already trying to create, but maybe he forgot his to check his email or anything, and unconfirmed just handles that use case for you. Just a really neat plugin as well. Yeah, that we use a lot. Then one thing as well that I like a lot is user switching. User switching, just a neat plugin as well. Because user management is important. I don't have it installed, or I think I do have it installed, but not able to showcase too much about it. It just enables you to log in as a different user without having their password and everything installed, and you can just instantly log in and out as a desired user, test out whether they're able to see, whether they're able to manage, and just really helps you control what you want them to do and what you don't want them to see. And yeah, just a really again, just helping out your workflow. Neat little plugin. Then one plugin I have to recommend, again, not a showcase today, but I have to recommend, and that's one of the major use cases Robert mentioned, Multilingual Press. That is a plugin that enables you to use multi-sites to actually have different locations, different translations of your WordPress sites. So you have one single WordPress site for each language, for example, and yeah, it tackles everything you need to do inside WordPress. So it actually, I think it's a really great solution to to use multisites for, because in other plugins that use just one single site to create different iterations of your site, different translations, they always load pretty much all the contents. But with multilingual WordPress, two sites are connected but not necessarily loaded at the same time. So as soon as you access the front end, only the language you're seeing right now is loaded. So just a really nice plugin, just highly recommended. It's one of the most important use cases in our opinion for multi-sites and translation, especially in Europe, where you have so many different languages that you wanna or need to support. So yeah, check that out. And one thing that I really love that might be more of an advanced thing is WP multi-network. And what that does is kind of like multi-sites. No, not really, but yeah, it's getting there. And what that does for you, you can have different subdirectories inside your multi-sites, obviously. For example, you have a domain example.org, and now you want to have a site/site. So, okay, that you can set up in the multi-site just fine, and it's a single installation. But what WP Network does for you is you can configure that site now as a multi-site as well, and have that site have more different subdirectories as well. So for example, if you want to build something like website.de/sub/sub or whatever, you can actually configure that using WP multi-network, and it just helps you get track of how many networks are there. So you can create a network inside a network inside a network and so on. It's just a really neat plugin. If you think about domain structures as well, it helps you out a lot configuring different multi-sites inside of multi-sites. Actually, a really nice use case as well. But yeah, it's getting a bit more complex there. Yes, and now I want to go over some of the features that Grade is adding as well, and that we think are really, really valuable. Just to point out, we're not the only ones who have those solutions, but I just want to showcase how we use multi-sites and what that enables you for our customers as well. So first of all, let's just go into the admin page we've already seen. So that is the Grade Hub, we call it. And yeah, in my really bloated, not necessarily a good thing to do that, but really bloated development server, that could take some time to load it. But this is the Grade Hub. That's the starting point inside the Grade Suite to manage your websites. And what you can see here is different websites inside the same multi-site. So this is gives you a nice interface to actually, track of all your sites. You can see there are a lot of different sites, and they don't necessarily have to be built with Grade. They can be built with whatever theme plugin, whatever you might want to use. But you have this plugin network-wide enabled, and there you have the administration interface. So what we want to do now, we want to take a look at a website and want to see what Grade actually does for you and what you can enable here. So first off, let me just activate this new. So this is just a default installation of WordPress. Let me just activate Grade on there, just to give you, I mean, you don't necessarily have to do this, but I want to do it right now. And I activated Grade in here, and let's visit the site. Again, below the development server. So yeah, Grade is installed now. We have just a basic installation, but that just doesn't really look too well. And what I can do now, for example, I can easily install new templates or create templates based on my site, or can install and migrate other solutions. So let me showcase that a little bit. So I have this nice looking site, and first I want to install a different template, and I actually want to use this dark software template that is automatically available for me, and install that. And now my page looks a lot different. So we have this niche looking site, and yeah, it's entirely different. That's our starting point now. So what we want to do, for example, we want to change the design. So we have this site, but we actually want to kind of make it look like that one. So if you take a look at this site, that has different buttons. I mean, this has some neon looking buttons, and this has, if it's loaded, my MacBook is getting hot now, based on the, sorry. So yeah, there we are. So yeah, now we have the site loaded, and you see this different fonts, different colors, whatever. And I want to, for example, get the design, download the design real quick, and want to import, where's my site again? Robo, this one is the one. And want to import my design here. So I just downloaded this one, imported the settings, and just take a look. Yeah, no, I didn't change any of the contents, but I obviously changed the design. I have the font enabled now. I have the different button solutions. So for example, I can build a site for Microsoft and want to make it look like Apple, or build a site for Apple and want to make it look like Microsoft. They're different the other way around, and you can manage them from a global perspective. And now what I can do is I can create a template out of this. So let me just add it. Let me just make that GoDaddy for now, just to have a different name in there. And now I want to create a template out of that. For example, I have the same approach every time, and I want to configure my own starting point. So I actually can just install a template, give it a description, upload a thumbnail. Let me just select the thumbnail as well, just some nice looking thing, just some gradient, whatever, and create the template. And now the template is created. And one really nice thing now is I can use that template and I can install it here. I have my custom website templates, and there you see my GoDaddy template that I just created. Let me just quickly reset this site. So I reset it to make it look like the default installation. And yeah, you can see I'm not leaving the hub at all. So I can really manage everything from here from a global perspective. So now it looks probably like the default installation again. Did I use that's the right one? So yeah, that's how it looks. It doesn't look like my installation anymore. And now I can easily install the custom website template I created, install the GoDaddy one. I mean, the screenshot, the thumbnail doesn't really reflect what is going on. But yeah, as soon as I create my template, now it's looking like the one I created earlier. So you can define really easy starting points for you to actually create your next project and define them from a global perspective and really easily manage them. You can do a lot of stuff in here as well. You can be more advanced, manage the database, media files, themes, plugins, whatever. If you migrate sites as well, for example, I want to migrate the Robo site to actually the GoDaddy one. I can do that from here as well, really easily. Use a clean database. Don't want to make it a micro backup. Don't want to use a clean database. It's pretty clean in my opinion. There you go. The site is installed. Yeah, it looks like the black one again. So all the files are created. You can easily migrate from one point to each other and just manage them from here on. Yes, this is like migration and management inside the Great Hub. There's a lot more. You can manage all your backups, database. I don't want to go into too much into details. We tackled the website templates as well. And next up is user and login settings. So as soon as you have the user management from Great active as well, that's just one thing that other solutions are doing as well. But you can, I have a lot of users in this table. So you can manage all the users from one site. Let me just go into one of the sites parallel again. I want to go into this because I pretty much prepared it for the use case today. Maya, do you see everything fast as well? Because my network is slowing down at the moment.
I believe everything's fine.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Because my Mac is running hot since the start of my presentation, and now the network is
It's a burning topic, but it's great.
all right. Looks fine as I'm seeing in the chat. Yeah, because I'm screen sharing everything, and now everything hung themselves up or whatever. Yeah, just before it's loading, let me just see one more thing. For example, one more thing, just skip to the next point pretty much. So I go into two different sites. Let me hope that my network connection is coming back. It's not right now. Or actually the multi-site is kind of like hung themselves or something. Maybe I broke something. That would be terrible. Let me just check that real quick. So what I want to do now is switch to my local host, because then I don't have any issues actually doing what I want to do. Okay, none of the sites are working. Okay, whatever. Now I have local installation working. So yeah, let me just switch over to my local host. You still see everything I see. Yeah, perfect. Okay, what I want to tackle first is where we stopped is user and login settings. So just let me tackle that first. Let me close that. When I go to my sites and I go to the main installation point, yeah, perfect. And I go to my unique sites in here, and I can manage my users from here. Let me just showcase you how this works. So from a site perspective, I have my user management. Obviously, I have my users. I can manage all my roles from a site perspective. That's not necessarily something that's unique to Grade. You can create new roles, manage roles that you want to have on this site. But what you can do as well, just to showcase what Multisites enables you to do here is, for example, if you want to set some settings in here, you can create on a site base. For example, I can create a different login URL, logout URL, whatever I want to do. But if I want to go to the main installation, let me just quickly see if I have everything in place right now, because I didn't prepare the localhost installation. Yeah, let me just quickly off screen include licenses and everything, because otherwise that will be in the video, and that is not necessarily a good thing. So here we go. License everything. So now, as soon as everything is loaded, I don't think it works right now. My network connection is really bad. Cannot even license anything. So yeah, what you can do is as well on the network side, you can change the login URLs, for example, or pretty much every setting you can configure on the network side, on a network installation, without me being able to actually showcase it right now. And then it is kind of like default for every site. So again, you have the control from a network perspective, and then can go in here and manage everything from a site perspective as well. I'm really sorry that this doesn't work right now too good. Yeah, but again, you can manage your settings and your users a lot differently if you're in a multi-site, and you can configure that from a network level and then just refer to it from a site perspective. And one more thing I really want to showcase is a global search. And let me just check out if I think, or actually, all right. Now it's working again, I think. All right, okay. No, it's not working again. So we kind of have to set it up right now as we go, because the entire server is not reachable at the moment. Whatever. So we want to build it as we go. No worries. Let me just go to not the beta theme, but the actual main theme right now, to not mess anything up, because beta is probably not a good idea for showcasing presentation. Yeah, and now we have everything in place. Let me just go to license. Oh yeah, that would be, I need to make sure to make that off screen. Or actually, just let me review this real quick. Let me just switch the branch. That should be fine. That should do it. Just hang on me for a second. Hang on with me. Global content and So there we go. That should work. So now I switched my version, go back to my main site. That should work. And yeah, now we have global content in place and we have global search in place. And now I can create and showcase you everything that is able with global search that I'm able to do. So what global search does pretty much, it crawls your entire multi-site network or necessarily more sites as well. So what you first want to do is you want to configure the search from a multi-site perspective. So you first want to configure, okay, what sites are actually included, what are not included in my search. I can either just include websites or exclude websites, depends on what I want to do. And yeah, that's the first thing you kind of can configure. And as soon as you got that, let me just go to this page. And now I can, for example, go to my, again, maybe I want to reinstall my robot theme. Yeah, let me just do that. Why not? Let me go to the Great Hub again and just install this template. Great template, yes. Install this now. And then if everything worked perfectly fine, yes, we got, because this site doesn't really look that very nice. Yeah, now we have the robot theme as well. So we're pretty much at the same starting point. And if I now want to go and type hello and search for that in my my WordPress installation, yeah, nothing is really found because we don't have too many posts in here. I don't think we have any posts in here that include the word hello, but maybe in my entire multi-site installation. So let's just get back because I installed the entire template. Let's just enable global search again. So yeah, let me just go into the advanced search panel. I pre-configured everything on my server, but as it's not reachable, that's terrible right now. So I configure the relevant sorting of this, and then just let me make sure that the plugins are in place. This actually never happened to me, that the entire server is not reachable during a live presentation. That's probably pretty much worst case scenario, but whatever. We just wait for the install plugins because I have like 100 plugins or something in here on my local development server, but because that can't be reached. So yeah, now I have the hub and I have, what you see, yeah, global content pretty much. That's what I need to enable the search on my site level. So we activate that plugin, let that load for a bit until this is activated. Oh, now my server is reachable again. Yes, actually it is. Yeah, I think my server is reachable because I reloaded it in the background. Now I don't need to necessarily set everything up again because I already have it in place. Yes, perfectly. So what I want to do, I have this installation that I have, yeah, and that's how it usually is. So I now search for hello on my site where I already configured global search. And what you can see now, you can find a lot different posts. And that's actually the same installation that we just saw on localhost that just installed. And all those test posts, they're not in here. So this is hello test and hello world. And if I click on learn more, we're actually already on a different site. So I am on the site 07 right now, and I came from the site, just to show you, I came from the site 01 and searched for hello. So what global site does for you is it crawls your entire multi-site and reflects all the posts that are there. It excludes some, includes some based on your settings, and doesn't want to necessarily include too many duplicates, or it has a algorithm to actually replace duplicates and everything. But what I can do here is really easily check for or search entire networks in here. And as soon as I search entire net, I can also search different multi-sites and other single sites that I connect to my entire network and showcase all the found posts on this page. Yeah, that's what global search enables you to do. And actually, it's really performant because you only have to query one database. It's not that much more requests that are handled instead of like creating different, searching different URLs, different WordPress sites, but by only crawling one database, it's actually a really performant solution for having a global search. and also global content. That's one of the things that really comes into place if you have like a franchisee and franchise network, if you might say. And just quickly get rid of this. Needs two tabs. And how does that work? So let me show you an example. So we're back on my multi-site, as everything is reachable now, and we have these two different websites. So one is pretty much the same as we had several times now in my in my little demo. We have this and that site, and they have content-wise they look the same. They have a different design, pretty much similar to what we did earlier. Different fonts, different buttons. Then they have the section where they display the latest posts. And if I go in here and then edit this page, this is connected to a different site, to this site and on a different site as well. And if I now go ahead and say, okay, instead of latest posts, I want to read it my posts of whatever site title. There's actually already a dynamic information in here. Obviously, this page is now changed, my posts of real estate. But if I refresh this site, this automatically has different content as well, without changing the design or the dynamic elements. I mean, this is still a different website, as you see in the site title that's reflected over here. And what is really valuable in here as well is if you take a look at this little tile, let's see it in the front end. So in here we have an image and headline, button, and text, pretty much something you have on every single website. And over here as well, image, text, websites, different design, different contents, obviously, but same structure. And if you take a look at how this is actually set up, this is a dynamic template, what we call. So this is just a structural element. So this, independent of its design, it just has an image in here that I just maybe want to make bigger, and I want to make the headline bigger, and maybe I want to just change the button style, make it big, for example. And if I update this now, you see there doesn't really have any contents, any actual content here, just placeholders pretty much. So if I update that, you can see now this tile automatically is changed with the different image button, but without changing the contents. And it's actually used a second time over here, just with static elements as well. So I just went in here and just typed in whatever I want, and just type whatever I want to fill. And if you take a look at the different side, at the other side, that's actually reflected over here as well. So now we have the headline bigger, image bigger, different button in here. There's still a different button, different design, but the same button type. So what this enables you to do, for example, you have a franchise system in place that have different contents but same designs, or different designs but same contents. You can really mix and match everything. And what that enables you to do as well, for example, from an agency or a WordPress professional perspective, you can reuse all your assets across your entire website and maintain and manage all your assets across multiple projects and sync them as you go, and try to decide, okay, which pages want to use the content, which don't want to use the assets. And yeah, that enables you a lot of things, and it's just some ways to showcase what Great does and what actually multi-sites can do for you. So yeah, thanks for your attention. I hope the issue I've had with my multi-site or my server, pretty much the other sides of the server weren't reachable at all. Yeah, I hope that wasn't too much of an inconvenience. Yeah, thank you for your attention. I hope you learned something new, got some plugins, got some tips maybe, or you have entirely different opinions on what I told you. Yeah, and I'm glad if there's a little discussion or anything in here. Yeah, thank you very much for your attention.
Hey, first of all, I mean, what we discussed before the event, something goes wrong, it goes wrong. So something did go wrong. But I think you managed to actually explain the essence and the benefits, and how to use it, and what type of benefits and value it could bring. I also wanted to ask you, I'm not sure if there's anyone who would like to ask the question. What I see, Robert is giving you congratulations, and Predrag is also happy to hear from you. Live demos are always a challenge, but that's what makes them fun. Exactly, Predrag. And this is why we did the live demo, to heat up this atmosphere.
Actually, I did like hundreds of demos. I think at that point, not this one, but hundreds of demos. And that's actually, I think, the first time that happened that the server went away. And we don't have the development server. It's just yeah, bloated and don't really take too much care of it. But that's actually the first time. But okay, I still got through it, and I hope you learned something and could still imagine what everything looks like.
I learned a lot. I mean, for me, I'm more of a business person than a tech. So for me, it's always important to understand how do I benefit from it? What's what's the unique selling point? Like, how do I differ then from the competition? What type of time it saves from me? What business decisions I don't need to make anymore? So that was really like a business-based presentation, but also it was a tech one. Thank you very much for this. So now that you explained to us about the great suit, where do we start? How do we go? What's the next move for someone who would be interested to try great suit?
Just go to a website and download it. You can download it for free. You can try out pretty much all the features for free. Not all of them, but most of them. And yeah, and just if you want to find out more, I mean, there's much more to this. I really focused on talking about multi-sites and what they enable you to do. If you want to find out more, just check out the website or schedule a demo with Thomas. He will show you around or something. But just test it out for yourself. Just download it and use it. That's the way I interact with other solutions as well. I just check it out for myself. So just go to a website, great.de. We're actually currently redesigning it and switching to a international URL first. So the first URL is the German one, but we're switching that in the near future. But just check it out, download it, and try it for yourself.
We'll go back to your website in a while. Just please let us know what about the finance part of it. I mean, could you tell us more about the prices?
Yes, of course. Yeah, again, you can download it for free and test it out. And if you want to set a website live, you could start just having a basic installation. That's just one installation um, that with updates for a year, it's 99 euros. But you can also go for a subscription-based model. Obviously, we have some subscription different packages in place. The smaller one starts with 69 euros per month, which is just one website each month, pretty much. So in a year, you get 12 websites. But you can also already develop and test everything out on your new sites. But yeah, that's the pricing model. And we switched. We actually always had the subscription-based model in place because, yeah, we think that's really valuable for a company to have recurring revenue to actually implement new solutions and maintain the current solution and help you and really improve the solution overall.
This is awesome. And I also, in the end, I mean, before, I don't see any questions in the chat. I think you did an amazing job by leaving us all speechless.
You're too
Seriously.
nice, Maya. You're too nice. I mean,
No, seriously. I think you
everything
went
broad.
into you went into such depth and in such a way that we were able to follow you and understand the concept of it at this point. So your website is also accessible. I mean, your company, yeah, it's a very good presentation, as Robert says.
Thank you, Rob.
So your
Thank you,
company
Maya.
is investing in accessibility, and it's very promo of accessibility, of website accessibility. And I heard your website is accessible, and you will keep even the version of your website will be even more accessible
Yes.
to various type of
That's
people.
that's that's actually a really important topic for us. We worked hard on that with Annemieke together. Some of you may know Annemieke Bobelet, really a great person and great accessibility expert. She doesn't want me to call her expert, but she really is. And yeah, she talked to us a lot and helped us a lot, just figuring out what to do actually to make our website, but our product accessible. And yeah, you can you can use it. I hope you can use it whether you're blind or using screen readers and everything. Yeah, we learned a lot during that process.
Awesome. Without further ado, I mean, since we already passed top of the hour some time ago,
Sorry.
uh, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm very happy that we were able to convey the message that will certainly help people looking for help with multi-sites and how they can find some tools that could help them in business wise, but also this tech part wise as well. And this is what Great Suit is. Jacob, thank you very much. Thank you. Big thanks and congratulations to Great for coming up with this solution and having such great people. We hope to see you soon, maybe with some news. Maybe you will be able to give us more insights in the future.
Yes, we have some news in the next couple of weeks. We will have some news. Yeah, and again, Maya, thank you very very much for having me. It was a blast, even though everything went wrong. But it was really nice being here and being able to talk about multi-sites because I'm really a fan of multi-sites, a big fan. You might realize that by now, but yeah.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
I got it. I got it. I totally got it now. So that's not an issue anymore. Another thing, if anyone would like to meet Robert, Predrag, or Jacob among our audience today, they all three of them will be at WordCamp Germany in a couple of weeks. So if you're planning to meet or to use Great Suit, maybe it's the best place to start with by saying hello and visiting the booth of Great. Anyway, thank you very much, Jacob. Thanks everyone for joining us tonight, for being patient all the way until the end. This was our GoDaddy Pro EMEA meetup, and I hope to see you some other time in October this year. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.